I am doing something that I typically don't do, which is make something, an experiment on camera, not even my own recipe or my idea, but it's, you know, I still read food magazines. So in Food and Wine, there was a recipe for a chocolate pudding cake where the cake, while it bakes, supposedly separates into a pudding layer and a cake layer. And I thought, oh my God, this would be so much fun to try. I've been trying to get around to making it and I never did. So why not do it now on camera? So we're going to give this a try. Of course, it's veganized. We'll give it a try. I'm subbing a couple of ingredients, but I hope it works. Let's cross our fingers and let's see if it's as fantastic as the recipe describes. So I'm going to have to sort of read the recipe because I've not done it before, but it'll be fun. So we're going to start out with a bowl and we're going to whisk together some flour. So I have about a cup of all-purpose flour. Actually, this is #1 flour from Italy. 1 is the degree to which they refine the flour. So you can see little brown bits in here because there's a little bit of hole, a little bit of germ in here. When people talk about 00 flour, it means that the whole, the bran, everything has been removed. It is the purest white flour you can find. They define flour in a different way. And maybe we'll do an episode about different flours, but that's a different episode. So let's continue. All right, I'm going to be adding a 3/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder, baking soda. And then I'm going to add 2/3 cup granulated sugar. This is organic sugar, and a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa divided. Well, I just sort of divided it. It didn't say exactly how much. It says a 1/4 cup of cocoa, so that's probably about a 1/4 cup right there. Okay, I'm separating it. We'll hope that it still comes out. Over here, I've got some coffee being brewed in my mocha pot. My handless mocha pot, it kind of fell off because I'm going to need coffee for this recipe as well. So now I'm back to whisking this very, very well. To this, we're going to be adding melted butter, water, vanilla, and sour cream. Now, the only sour cream I have is this Elmhurst sour cream alternative. My upcoming cookbook, The Vegan Creamery, will have some fabulous sour cream recipes in it, but this was gifted to me by the company, and so I'm going to use it. I'm going to add 1/3 cup of this and 1/3 cup of water. Elmhurst is an interesting company because it started out selling dairy milk. It says established 1925, and then they completely shut down their cow operation and turned to plant-based milk. So you should be able to find their products. They're actually very clean. Most of them just contain oats and water or almonds and water or pistachios and water. They make a variety of milks. And now I'm going to add 1/3 cup of melted butter. Mix it so it's mostly combined, but not thoroughly. And then I'm going to fold in a 1/2 cup of dark chocolate chips gently until it is evenly combined, it says. All right, now I'm going to pour this into a baking dish. I'm going to add the butter on the bottom, and I'm going to pour this into there. Now this is where it gets super, super interesting, because this looks like a regular cake batter, but we're going to be pouring a liquid on top, and that is what is really fascinating to me about this cake. So now I am going to take 1/3 cup of dark brown sugar, the remaining cocoa powder, and the remaining 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, which apparently I did not divide and withhold. And so I will have to get some more granulated sugar, and the cake will be a little sweeter. I have a daughter named Serafina who's constantly following recipes online, and nothing ever turns out. She goes, well, I forgot to do this. I changed this, and I did that. And it's like, look, you didn't really follow the recipe. And then, you know, there are some online recipes that aren't so great anyway. But this is where Miyoko needs to pay attention. So I'm going to add 1/3 cup of the sugar that I was supposed to withhold. Okay, there we go. Oh, Miyoko, what am I going to do with you? Now, we're going to mix this up, and I'm going to break up the chunks of brown sugar that have sort of hardened in my cupboard. Oh my gosh, the editors of Food and Wine would be horrified if they saw me doing this. But we'll see how this comes out. So this is really unusual. I'm not going to mix this with a liquid. I'm going to follow the recipe, which says to sprinkle this mixture on top of the cake. So in this goes, on top of the cake. And we'll see whether or not the magic that supposedly happens truly happens, or if I just have a mess on my hands. I'm going to add some coffee to this, and they asked for amaretto, which is an almond liqueur, which I don't have. I do have Kahlua, so I'm going to use that instead. So now what I need to put on top here is a 1.25 cups of a strong brewed coffee and a 1/4 cup of Kahlua. And finally, I'm going to pour the coffee and Kahlua over the entire cake. And it says, resist the temptation to mix. Somehow, all of this liquid is going to seep down to the bottom, mix with the chocolate, and create a lovely chocolate pudding. That's going to be under the cake. The cake layer will be on top. And now we're going to put this in the oven at 350 degrees for about 42 to 45 minutes until the cake is cracked and the sauce is bubbling around the edges. Okay, this crazy cake with the liquid on top is going in the oven. Okay, we shall see how it turns out. The oven is beeping, which means that the cake is supposedly ready. The proof is in the pudding. You can see the pudding bubbling up on top. This is amazing. This is remarkable. Look at this. It separated into 2 layers, cake on top, a rich chocolate pudding on the bottom. I can't believe it. I can't wait to taste this thing. And it says to serve with vanilla ice cream. I happen to have vanilla thyme ice cream in my freezer. I made it to visit a friend the other day. This is one of my new ice cream recipes. That'll be in the Vegan Creamery, coming out in September of this year. And this ice cream is made with watermelon seed milk. And it's super creamy and delicious. So, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. So let's see if this pudding cake can prove itself. Oh my God, this is incredible. Oh my God. The cake is a little crunchy and chewy and rich and decadent. And then the sauce underneath it. What an experience. I've never made anything like this before. I would love for you to try this and tell me what you think. Wow, this is incredible. Well, pudding cake, you proved yourself. The proof is in the pudding, and this is going to become a staple in my repertoire. I think it might become one in yours too. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time. And be sure to comment down below what you thought of the recipe and if you tried it. I am making this again, definitely making this